Okay guys, a lot of you have been talking about suspension and hard suspension and soft suspension, and I thought I'd just do a bit of a lively video, bit of fun, and maybe help somebody out. Two disclaimers. Firstly, I might swear. I tend to have the word slip out every now and again. Second disclaimer, I might be talking a load of waffle, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I've had 30 odd years experience with these beasts, and I think I'm half decent with the info I know. Right, we'll start then. So in my day, in the old days, we used to have to make everything ourselves, and all we had was a hammer, tape measure, few spanners, file, and a shitty stick. We'll come back to the shitty stick later. So we'll crack on then, and we'll have a quick run through on suspension, and hopefully it'll help some of you guys out on not how to do it, but some of the background into why people do it. Sound. Okay, right. You got your basic Volkswagen Beetle. We take the body off, we cut the chassis down, make the wheel base a lot smaller, and what the problem we have is the suspension's too hard. Why you want soft suspension is really two reasons. Firstly, you want a better ride. Great, simple. But also it will aid the driving and make the driving experience 10 times better. The problem is you get less weight transfer with the standard Beetle suspension. So what a lot of people do, they take your torsion bars out. Some people take all the small little bars out on the front suspension. Some people take two out and experiment. You've got to experiment yourself, because every Volkswagen beach buggy is different. You might have the tank in the front, you might have the tank in the back, you're bigger the size of your wheels and tyres, etc, etc, etc. So basically you've got to trial and error yourself, but I can give you the basic tips. Firstly, you want weight transfer, like I've just said. So on a standard Beetle, your front suspension will be high and it will be rock hard because there's no weight for it to work with. So you take your torsion bars out, as said, and that will lower your vehicle. Now it might be sound, it might be too low, so you can either put one of two spring adjusters in there to adjust your front suspension. I've got one type on my car, I've got one type on Mart's car, and I'll show you the two and you can decide. I prefer Mart's setup to mine, but there you go. Anyway, and what that does is just higher or lower your front suspension by twisting the torsion bars to wherever you want. At this stage, they're not putting no load on your wheels, because all it's doing is just turning it into a different position and bringing the height up. By taking the torsion bars out, that's when you get your softer suspension. You get a better ride and you will get yourself some better handling and braking. Now basically, simple things is weight transfer. When you brake, the car should dip, transferring the weight from the rear of the car to the front of the car, giving you more weight going into the front wheels, which will stop them from locking up and skidding, and also it'll help on turning in under braking because you've got more weight on the front. Simple as that. That's basically the safety issue. Obviously the nice issue is it's a lot softer. Now that's all well and good, that'd be great, you'll get better braking, etc, 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 but it'll handle like a rubber go-kart going around a corner. So what you need is what we call preload. Now a standard Beetle with no torsion bars out, when you jack it up, one, it'll be high because it's full reach with the suspension. The suspension's fully down because the torsion bars are just twisting too much, and basically you've got no weight to compensate for the stronger springs because the body's lighter. So basically what you get when you jack it up, What you don't want to see is as soon as you jack it up, the wheels come off the ground. What you need is what we call preload, which is when the car's on the ground, it sinks. So basically, when you jack it up, if you watch the suspension here, it's still on the ground and it's working. Then you'll get so far and it'll bring it off the ground. That's what you want. That's what we call preload. Now, what preload does is when you're going around a corner, if you didn't have no preload, all you'll get is the wheel lifting. So you've lost traction on this wheel. It's all going onto this wheel. And the more contact area you get, obviously the more grip you'll get, and you just don't want that. That is not what you want. You want a preload so it rocks. See, so your wheel's constantly in contact with the ground instead of like that. That's what you want. So making it softer does the trick, and you can measure the preload. So put your car where it normally sits and then measure when you jack it up how far it comes up before the wheel comes off the ground, and that's basically your preload measurement. Simple as that. But when you get preload, you get roll, and basically what I do to stop the roll, I put gas shocks on there. A lot of the time you don't need to. You can get away with the standard Beetle shocks. They're as good, but again, it's down to what handling you want. But I've got gas on mine, so it obviously restricts the roll, but you've still got your contact patch on the road because you've still got your preload. Simple as that. And preload affects the rear as well. So if you jack your car up, you go around a corner, you haven't changed your torsion bars on the rear, right? You can get the wheel to come up. As soon as that wheel leaves the ground, all the power that you're transferring goes into the spinning wheel. So until that wheel hits the ground, you ain't going nowhere in theory. Obviously try it yourself, jack your car up, put it in gear, just run it up slowly and you'll find you won't go anywhere because that wheel will just be spinning through your differential. So if you've got preload on the rear so it rocks, you won't get no wheel spin and you'll be gone from the lights quicker than your shitty BMW, which is rock hard lifting the wheel. So basically that's preload on the rear as well. And also when you take off, going back to your weight transfer, when you accelerate hard, your front wheels will stay in contact with the road. So again, on acceleration, the weight transfers into the back wheels. So you get more grip on the back. Last thing you want to do is just sit there wheel spinning. So, and also because you've got your preload, your wheels are not lifting off the ground so much. So you've still got contact and a little bit more weight there. So it's all a balance between shifting the weight around. So sometimes as well you need it a bit soft on the back as well. So a lot of people forget that. So that's basically what I've learned, and that is basically as simple as it comes. It's all about weight transfer, and what more can I say? And it's dead simple. You take your bars out, it drops down, put your adjuster in, bring it up, then you find it's a bit soft, sort your preload out and sort your shocks out and your job done. Front end set up a treat and it'll handle and brake and you'll get more confidence with the vehicle. And that's it in a nutshell really. There is a few more things that you can faff around with, like we all know about caster, which is basically, well, you might not, but it's how far the wheel leans backwards from the, if we got ball joint, from the top ball joint and the bottom ball joint. So the more the top ball joint is back from the bottom ball joint, the more caster you get. And what caster does is makes the wheel centralize quicker on its own. So if you're going down the road and basically your car's wandering all over the shop, you need to adjust the caster. Now when you lower your suspension on beetles, you find you lose caster, so you need caster shims to go in the front torsion bar housing, which are just plates that you drop in with longer bolts, and it's simple modification, but that will bring, if it's low, will bring your caster back into a line, so it will make the steering line up quicker and it'll feel better in a straight line. You've also got camber, which is your angle of the wheels. Well, you know, that's another tricky one. More weight makes the suspension move around a lot more, as you can see. It adjusts the camber on that one, but trial and error with that. You've got a little adjuster at the top with a notch in. Normally, I believe, I might be wrong, but when the notch is straight forward, that's like give or take straight up. Some people put negative camber on there, so the top wheel is sticking in slightly. It's trial and error, see what you fancy. I mean, I put mine straight. And then obviously a bit more technical, you've got kingpin inclination, which is the angle of the ball joints. So not only do you have the forwards and backwards angle, you have the inner angle like that. And on these beetles you can't really adjust it, so there's nothing you can mess about with that. And basically that's it then. So to sum up, if you can get your preload, which is take your torsion bars out, you might have to higher or lower it with a adjuster, and see how you go from there. Simple as that. And you'll find your car will handle 10 times better. And again, some people will run with just one torsion bar out, other people will run with 4 or 5 torsion bars out. Don't forget, these cars are old and the torsion bars have been at it for so many years, it's untrue. So it's all down to each individual beach buggy and how you want it set up. So I think that's it really. I can't think of anything else that I can explain that needs to be explained. It's just as simple as that. Okay then, so we're on the big beastie now then. So obviously you got your 2 ball joints, blah blah blah, your 2 arms, torsion bars running there and there. There's your 2 releasing bolts for your torsion bars. Pull it off, pull your bars out. There you go. You'll see it once you strip it down. Probably telling a lot of you how to suck eggs, but there you go. Right, as you can see on this, because I run a lot of preload and I've took a lot of springs out, I run the anti-roll bar. A lot of people don't run the anti-roll bar. That's personal preference, but because mine's quite soft, when you go around corners, obviously I don't want this wheel getting too light, so that's why I run the anti-roll bar. Keeps it a bit stiffer around corners. Right, well, I'll show you the preload now. Let me just jack the car up and we'll see. So if you watch these 2 arms, you'll see how they twist. Let me zoom out, and as the arms twist, the wheel's still on the ground. There you go. There, we're off the ground now. And that is basically your preload. Looks like me blooming ball joint boot split. I'll have to get that one sorted. That's not very good at all. Anyway, another job to do tomorrow probably. Right, so if you watch the 2 arms again, you'll see how your weight comes on. That's your preload. Quite a lot of preload on this beast. That's how I like it. So that's it basically. That's all your preloads done and dusted. And if we can have a look at these adjusters. Bear with me a second. Right. The adjusters. Let's have a look now, see if we can see them. Right, going under. There's the one beast. These I don't really like. Basically, you got your lock nuts, your plate, you got your lock nut, sorry, They're nuts, the plate and the teeth here that the plate locks into to keep the suspension where you want it. So the more notches you use up, you're changing your suspension angles. So you move it round a notch higher or lower. There's one of these on the bottom which you can see here, and there's one also further up there on the two. So you've got one on each torsion bar tube. I'll just run over to Mart's and you can have a look at Mart's. Bear with me. Okay, this is Martin's adjuster. As you can see, it's totally different. That's your adjusting screw and lock nut. So you screw that in, twists the block inside the torsion tube where the torsion bars run through to twist them to give you more height. There's a screw on the top which you can just about see, which actually locks up the torsion bars to the pivot inside. So you're basically locking off twice. I do like these. You do have to cut the torsion bar tubes and just weld them in, but you know, if you can weld, you're cooking on gas with these. And basically that's the two adjusters. And that really rounds up your suspension setup really, and I just hope it's answered a few questions, and you can go away and have some fun and play. So it's bye from me then. Good luck and have fun. Cheers. Bye.